loved ones after a short spell of absence. Louis Mendy, GRTS.
Climate change early warning system for the Gambia has been the focus of a two-day capacity building program organized by the Department of Water Resources in collaboration with United Nations Environment Program and other partners. The training for 50 participants from the Kanifing municipality is designed to bridge the gap in knowledge levels as well as encourage networking between the providers and users of information relating to climate change. Louis Mendy again.
The Gambia is not alone in facing threats posed by climate change, as countries the world over is grappling with the effect of the global threat. The recent loss of land in the Gambia due to erosion arising from increased sea levels and alternating droughts and floods due to enhanced erratic behavior of rainy seasons are a typical effect of climate change. Experts at the Ministry of Water Resources and stakeholders are optimistic that the only way to deal with this global issue is to increase community awareness on the subject, a rationale behind the organization of this two-day capacity building seminar for providers and users of the climate change warning information.
The scientists have done extremely well to raise some level of awareness at the technical and the political levels of this country. Corresponding successes at the community and private sector levels has not been established. The main reason being these scientists speak highly scientific and technical language, and they are not able to speak and understand the language of the communities. Hence, there is need for an interface between providers of the climate and climate change information and the major users, communities of that information.
The purpose of this meeting is really, as part of our project, to raise the level of awareness of your constituency, and you being members of representatives of KMC would be equipped with the impacts of climate change, how it affects us, and the means that we put in place to adapt to the impacts of climate change.
Two prime reasons that seems to make this seminar particularly important is the simple fact that providers of climate and climate change warning information have limited knowledge about the subject and only interact in a minor way with the most vulnerable communities that need climate and climate change warning information. Another fact is that the largest user community of climate and climate change warning information is highly illiterate. This forum is envisaged to bridge that gap in knowledge levels and networking between the providers and users of the climate and climate warning information.
Your role as stakeholders in the project is indeed capital. Our communities need to be aware of the threat posed by climate change, and this can only be achieved with your effective participation in this workshop. As part of the pilot areas to benefit from training under this project, government, particularly the Kanifing Municipal Council, expects strong commitment from you in terms of acquiring the right information about this threat and the ways to build the required resilience.
Similarly staged in Janjambure, Farafenye and Banjul, the importance of this awareness creation forum to the Kanifing municipality as the host is equally immense.
The Kanifing municipality is well known for the large quantity of waste it generates and the inadequacy in the management of the waste. Actions such as avoiding or minimizing litter and indiscriminate dumping of solid waste and wastewater can greatly reduce greenhouse gas emissions.
The Gambia under President Jammeh is credited for providing scientific and political leadership on climate change at the United Nations General Assembly. Therefore, this seminar and similar others is expected to expose participants to an array of subjects on climate and climate warning information for posterity. This forum is the first pillar of mainstreaming climate change into development frameworks that include national and sectoral policies and programs for enhanced capacities and sustainable development. The 3-year, over $1 million project is funded by the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. Louis Mendy, GRTS.
Well, we'll be back with news from outside the Gambia after this break. Welcome back. The United States says it has new information on Iran's spy services. Washington says Tehran has tens of thousands of secret agents that are being used to plan worldwide terror attacks and suppress dissent inside Iran. CNN's Brain Todd takes a closer look at the seemingly unending diplomatic dogfight between the United States and Iran.
Assassination plots, terrorist bombings, cyber warfare, tactics used around the world by Iran's intelligence service, one of the largest and most aggressive spy operations in the world. That's according to a new report by government researchers commissioned by the Pentagon. The report says Iran's Ministry of Intelligence and Security has 30,000 people working for it. That's compared to just over 100,000 in the 17 U.S. intelligence agencies and offices.
From the standpoint of U.S. national security, Western national security, what's the most dangerous operation that Iranian intelligence has its hand in, do you think?
Well, I think the most dangerous thing they do is terrorism. They have for decades now developed networks with other terrorist groups, so they themselves don't necessarily have to do something. They can contract it out. They can encourage others to engage in terrorism against the United States and our allies.
Ruel Garect, a former CIA officer who tracked Iranian intelligence through Europe and the Middle East, says the Iranian Ministry of Intelligence and Security used to conduct most Iranian-sponsored assassinations overseas. He says that unit killed Shapor Bakhtiar, the former Iranian prime minister, assassinated in Paris in 1991. But Garect says now those operations have shifted to the feared Quds Force, the shadowy Iranian military unit that's part of the Revolutionary Guard. What's the Ministry of Intelligence's biggest job now?
They're primarily used as an instrument of internal repression. They know how to hurt people.
The report also says the Quds Force is inside Syria, backing President Bashar al-Assad's forces.
Separate from the report, Congressman Peter King, chairman of the Homeland Security Committee, has said that Iran runs spies out of its mission to the UN and here at the Iranian interest section in Washington.
King made those comments after a plot was revealed to assassinate Saudi Arabia's ambassador to the U.S. The Iranian-American who pleaded guilty in that case said he'd worked with Iranian military people to formulate the plot. In the wake of that, King called for strong retaliation against Iranian diplomats in the U.S.
We, to me, should get rid of either all of them or most of them and send a clear signal.
Iranian officials denied any role in trying to assassinate the Saudi ambassador in Washington. We called and emailed Iran's mission to the UN for comment on the latest report on the country's intelligence operations. We got no response. Brian Todd, CNN, Washington.
Venezuelans continue to pray for their president, Hugo Chavez, who continues his critical battle with cancer in a Havana hospital. Chavez is now said to have severe lung infection and respiratory failure. Barely days before his swearing-in ceremony, Venezuelans are skeptical that their beloved leader will make it in time to take the oath of his office.
Thousands of supporters of Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas came out in Gaza City on Friday for the climax of celebrations marking 48 years since the creation of the Fatah movement. This is the first time that such a rally has taken place since Hamas took control of the Gaza Strip in 2007. A year later, Hamas forced Fatah out of the Strip. On Monday, President Abbas kicked off the festivities with a speech from the Palestinian Authority's headquarters in Ramallah. He promised that 2013 would be the year that an independent Palestinian state would be established. On Thursday, the Basque nationalist group Batasuna announced that it would dissolve the party. Batasuna has been banned in Spain since 2003 for links to the armed separatist group ETA, but not in France. The announcement comes nearly 14 months after ETA decided to put down its arms. However, the Batasuna party said it would pursue its goals of establishing an independent Basque nation through political means against what it calls the oppressive French and Spanish states. In Venezuela on Thursday, the government condemned what it called the manipulation and psychological warfare by the opposition to destabilize the country while President Hugo Chavez fights illness. Chavez is now suffering from severe respiratory infection after an operation for cancer on the 11th of December. The Venezuelan government has not given much clear information about the ailing leader.